watching. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is Mrs. Arnett's first grade class at Kirkersville Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was awesome.
Mr. Jones, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel.
Here.
Mrs. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Vincent.
Here.
Mr. Zani.
Here.
Mrs. Spindler.
Here. We don't have any public participation today, you said? No. Okay. And item F, adoption of the agenda.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Zani.
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Engel.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. The agenda passes as printed. Item 2, we have a presentation from Jason Mumford, the president of the WMAA, to update the concession stand renovation.
Hi guys, you're probably going to get tired of seeing me. Okay, so when I was at the last meeting, I gave updates as to our Garmin Miller had finished the drawings. We went out to bid. That bidding process has returned. So I have a price tag to add to it, just to update you guys. And then Tam's going to help me, and we're going to see if we can shake some money. There we go. So that's the drawing we showed. That's the final plans. It's pretty busy, but essentially, just a recap, we are going to basically gut the inside of it, redo all the electricity. We are going to leave one restroom in there for the volunteers. It's over right about there. And then we'll redo the outside to match as best we can the locker room that was built by you guys a couple years back. Also matching the roof with the metal roof to do the match the pavilion and the locker rooms. So it'll kind of look as uniformed as we can. One of the other things we looked at, actually let me skip ahead. So this was the bid that came in. It was an open bid. We had only one company provide a cost, and that is outlined here. Those alternatives there, those have some flooring in there, so we asked them, when Garmin put this together, we kind of wanted to do phases, just because we didn't know that we would be able to afford everything that needed to be done. Inside the concession stand, the plans, those that have been in there know it's a little chaotic, so part of our design process was pretty much everything in there will be on wheels, so we feel pretty comfortable with skipping over the flooring right now. We can go down that because it would be easy to move the stuff out of the way, the flooring in, and we could do that, in a couple of years or whenever we have the money. The last item right here is out back. That's where you guys have seen those containers that sit out back. Well, that'll entail would be allow us to put that refrigerator freezer in. So that entails putting in a concrete pad. It's recessed down because the refrigerator freezer will actually connect to the building. So you won't need to go outside to get everything. So unlike now when you're working in the concession stand, you spend a lot of time going back and forth and picking up items. This will be a walkway straight through and everything will be contained in the building. This is also going to help us. We've seen quite an increase of folks bypassing the front gate for games and events and coming in the side gate that is open there. So we'll be able to shut that and secure things a little easier. That way folks can't be running in and out of the game. And then here's so that's the drawing of the refrigerator freezer. Currently in there right now we have 4 freezers that we use. And we have 5 refrigerators, 4 of which are provided by Pepsi, just filled with drinks. It's not enough. We ended up several games this year icing down drinks at halftime to provide enough cold stuff. So this will allow us to store all of our things we would need to. On the left side, that's the, oops, sorry, wrong button. That's the refrigerator, that's the freezer. And this is the back wall, so this is how it would connect. They were able to send the actual CAD drawings over to Garmin Miller, and they can plug it in, and they know how they need to recess the concrete. They provide flashing for the outside. We would, the contractor would be able to flash the inside, so that would all be connected. And about 90% of all of our concession stand and revenue comes out of that building. So it's something and the nice part is when Pepsi comes in, they can drop and put it right in the refrigerator. We'll be able to do away with all of our freezers and refrigerators, and that'll give us a lot more room for storage in the main concession. So the bid price that we received was $329,000. The slab, and we're also going to do vinyl fencing around it just to kind of hide things that'll match. The locker room has the same thing around there, HVAC units and stuff like that, so it'll look a little cleaner. Got an updated bid today. That's the bid that are the costs for the refrigerator freezer. Total cost would be $398,979. We are able to put up $125,000. That's where we feel comfortable with, because that'll leave us about $90,000 in case something breaks, such as get a tear in a soccer or a wrestling mat or something like that. We want to be able to still provide for the kids in the athletics as need be. So the remaining cost would be $273,979. So I guess my 2 questions, I've kind of given the updates, and I know you guys have asked it. Are you asking for anything, or this is the point where I know the dollar amount, and so I have 2 questions. One, is the district willing to put anything towards the project? And 2, is the district willing to, for lack of a better term, finance the project? In talking with Mrs. Spindler, and we would not, I guess we don't technically make payments, we would make donations back to the school, and we could set something up, with legally of how we would, repay that amount. So those are my 2 questions. One, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about the project or anything I can do to.
What's the time frame on it?
We told the contractor has to be done by the end of July. Yeah, August is our busy. We start off with the VW show. Usually it's first or second week of August, and then we roll into our 7th and 8th grade and high school football and cross country meets and LCL meets. Everything comes out of that building, so we have to be up and running. Track, we've already worked with Pepsi. They're going to let us use some trailers. We're going to use some food trucks, local food trucks, to do some of those events.
Okay.
Because we want to be able to provide for folks too. There's no way around it. It was going to be a hardship no matter what. We were going to have to miss something. So we're going to try to do our best this spring to keep that up and running as best we can and give people some variety. We've talked to some local companies to see if they want to come out and set up some trays, and we can do some subs or something like that. So we're looking at different ideas for that. But Mr. Ziny, our Warrior Burgers will be back up and rolling in August.
I don't want to miss that.
Jason, what's the Athletic Association's yearly net revenue?
So I actually asked Jen that, Jen's our treasurer, we net around 35 to 40,000 after everything's paid. So our biggest some of our biggest things we spend every year. If anyone has seen the senior banners, we purchase all those. That's roughly 12,000 a year. This past year we did we bought the wrestler team a mat. That was about 15,000. Football pants. I think that was about 5,000 or 6,000. We just purchased warm-ups for 7th and 8th grade boys and girls basketball. At the last meeting, I think that's going to be around 4,000. So after everything's paid, we usually bank, and we've been doing that for the last several years, knowing this project's coming. I mean, I would hope to. When I first took over, I wondered why we had so much in the bank, and that was what this has been in the process for probably 7 years of trying to get enough money, and at this point, the way the electric is in there, my fear is we were going to come get a call and say, hey, like happened at Johnstown, it burned. So we're trying to avoid all that, and I think this is the right time to do that.
And when was the last time you guys put any money into that building? Like, when was it last renovated, or?
When the school donated to us, I believe that it's 31 years.
Okay.
I mean, there's been little things, like some shelving put in and this and that.
Over those 31 years, and I know you haven't been here a long time, has the school district paid for any renovations or any improvements or anything as far as that particular building goes? Or has it been completely hands-off to?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that we've done to that building.
Okay, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
We've
as
done
far as
some
that goes,
maintenance,
but-
maybe, maintenance, paint, a little bit.
Oh, they run some plumbing. I do know that. That
Okay.
was before me, but they've done some plumbing lines in there because I think we had a break or something. Does that sound right to you, Tam? Yeah. So that's about the only thing I could think of.
In 31 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess my question is to Rick, what can we do? I'd like to help out as a board member, but
How
what
would that
can we do?
second option work?
I don't think we can legally give them money.
No, but
No.
I mean,
I
if we
think
were to
that,
pay for it, could we do, I mean, I don't even know.
I
if we
think
could.
similar to what we did, we mentioned about scoreboards, is we could do it and have some kind of agreement to pay us back over a set number of, a certain amount of time, dollar amount, interest rate or whatever. But we'd have to pay for the full project, and we would have to probably go out to rebid the whole project again. Because not sure it's all in total with what we'd have to do as a school district, because we had to advertise 2 weeks and all that stuff. So we have to rebid the project. So I assume if that's something we wanted to do, we could put $275, they could donate to $125, put it in similar to what we have the special account and, for the signs, so we know how much is left. We do the same thing so we can track how much they still
And
owe
with the
us.
signs, it was basically $250,000, right?
It was, approximately
So we're
250,000.
more or less talking the same dollar amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
I brought Kurt along too, because the bidding process in the schools, and I don't know a lot about that. So if there's any questions, because it was an open bid, I don't know if it met all the qualifications that the school would, and so he could answer any of those questions.
Do we know why, Kurt, only one company bid?
Well, as we've talked before on other board meetings, just the construction market. Typically, we like to have at least 3 bidders, so we have a high, a medium, and a low to kind of get a range. There was another company that actually purchased the plans, but they didn't put a bid in for whatever reason.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the rebidding process would be done the same way that we did the initial. We'd go through that same process.
And if we went through the process that Rick just described, I'm assuming that would delay the end product date then? I know Jason said July 31st.
Yeah, that would put a strain on that budget, or that timeline, I should say. Also, typically when projects are rebid, oftentimes a contractor that has his number shown would either not bid for various reasons or potentially be higher. So
Okay.
that's another drawback. But understanding that we need the finances before we can do anything. And there's ways that we could work with the boosters to be able to maybe occupy part of the building or that kind of thing. But the short answer to your question is, yeah, we would lose time, you know, for the construction side.
Are you able to take a project where only one bidder came in?
Yeah, if it was bid correctly, you know, yes, we can. Bids are bids, you know,
Right,
yeah.
okay. So we're
But-
allowed to do that?
Yes.
I mean, we could go forward with this.
No, we can't,
Not
yeah.
the way it is. but-
Yeah, because it wasn't advertised properly 2 weeks, once on the website. That all has to,
That part of it.
that part wasn't done.
But if in fact that happened and we bidded a school district policy, if we only got one bid again,
We're fine. We move forward with it. Yep.
okay.
And technically, I know you guys operate out of the building. Does the school district own the building? Or do they?
As far as I know, I mean, he mentioned something about donate, but the school
Yeah.
can't legally donate it to the boosters. That's illegal.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't,
So-
I guess that was way before, I mean, 30
No, you're
years
good.
ago, I wouldn't
I'm
even live here.
just trying to get some, just trying to get some context
Yeah,
here.
I'd assume it's our building, because usually
Okay.
if they built on our.
So we would be using our own funds for our own building,
Correct.
that they would just be making donations towards because they're
Yes.
using the building.
Yep.
Okay. So is this something we decide tonight? Does it need to go to finance committee? Where are we? in
Well, I
the
think if
legislative
it's
process?
something the board is wanting to entertain, I think as Kurt mentioned, it will cause a timeline. If we wait another month,
Right,
it's going
yeah.
to make it even
So we
longer.
would
So
need
the
a
preference
motion.
would be, if you want to do it, to move forward tonight, authorizing up to, up to a certain dollar amount or anything over 125, because who knows when we rebid it, what happens. We can't say 275 and come back and it comes in at 450,000 or something.
Right.
But it can't be, can't be 10% over the architect's estimate, so.
Right.
So basically, the preference would be to move forward so we can get it advertised and rebid ASAP, and hopefully, ideally, bring it to the board in January to award the contracts at the January board meeting would be ideal.
Okay.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out legislatively what the motion would be.
So I guess we can take it on as a project, or we can leave it to the boosters and you do your own project. Is that my two options, basically?
Well, they don't have the funding. They don't have the funding without.
Well, I know, but you could finance it. I think Kurt
They
said
could.
something about financing it, right?
They could go to the bank.
Yeah, so this was my first stop. My next stop is to Pataskala Bank. I mean, we've talked to them as well, to see if that's an option. But I figured this would just be cleaner. It keeps it all in-house.
Right.
And quite frankly, it makes it a lot easier.
Has there been discussion with the terms of the agreement between the boosters and the district and how it's going to be paid back and all of that? No?
No, we'd have to,
We haven't got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
but we would make like a legal
Yes,
agreement.
Yeah, our
Oh,
attorney
yeah.
drafted an
Yeah.
agreement,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
repayment agreement, or donation agreement, however we word it, but, yeah. And basically, the option, I mean, you could word it as basically to move forward with rebidding of that project, and we're gonna cover the costs, and hopefully make a donation, 125,000 towards that.
I mean, there was the other option that Mr. Mumford mentioned, which was like a lump sum donation as well, but,
Yeah, we can't make a lump sum, but
oh, that's right. Never
we
mind.
can't pay them nothing,
Right.
so. We can buy it ourselves, but we can't.
Right.
Right.
And this is something we could afford?
Yeah, 235 and, 275,000,
Right.
300 most. I don't think it's gonna, I think it'll be fine over a reasonable repayment period. I wouldn't go like 20 or 30 years,
Right.
but
40-year payback.
yeah.
40 year.
We were thinking more in the 10 range.
All right. And do you guys kind of have a sky, like a top dollar amount?
That's what I was going to ask.
A top dollar amount, if where it stands right now, if all this came back the exact same, we would be looking at roughly 27, right around there, 28 a year for 10 years. That's doable.
Okay.
We would like to probably keep it under 30.
Okay.
I mean, bingo's going really well, but and obviously, I don't think there would be any problem if we paid more, and we've done that historically. We did that with the turf project that came through us. We had our loan set and it was a dollar amount, but as, you have good years and you have, like this past year was, so far, whatever happens during that fall season usually is how our revenue goes. I mean, we've got our lower amounts are, I think Jen sent me in the, $30,000, $32,000 range after we've paid out, other projects. This year, to be quite honest with you, I had 2 additional home football games and
Right.
a pretty successful season. So we had no numbers that matched the history of what, and that's kind of like the Norwegian judge. We want to throw that one out too,
Yep.
because we would like the seasons to be like that. You can't always.
So just to verbalize this for the people at home and whatnot, just to sum up, in a building that the school district owns, the boosters have been using for 31 years, that the district basically has put zero money into over the 31 years. The boosters are now coming and asking for money so we can renovate the building that we put no money into. And the booster is going to pay the entire thing back as of right now. Granted, the school district doesn't give any money or, to that. If you look at 31 years and the price tag here, the fact we put no money in it, to me, it kind of makes sense. It's going to have to be done.
Right.
I know the electricity in there is not good.
No.
So,
Scary is a better term.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know there will be the argument, well, this isn't being used for education, but it is being used to help our kids and our community who are being educated through the sports program. So
And it touches all sports. I mean, it touches all sports, realistically.
now, have you guys considered seeking donations from
We are.
like the VW people who come and they use it every year, but I don't know how much money they
They make a donation to us every year, but Mr. Perkins he thinks it's on the lower side. Yeah, we wanted to get this going now. There's some grant money out there that Energy Co-op has some grant money you can apply for. We're going to do all that. This is literally, the bid process ended, what was that, December 6th. So by the time we got this, we have we were waiting for the dollar amount. We had an idea, you can hear ideas, but until it's down in paper, we really didn't know how we could go about it or where we could go with that. So yes, definitely, we're going to try to fundraise as much as we can. The issue with fundraising, and I brought this up when I was talking to the rest of the board, is all the athletic programs do that. And we're hitting the same group of people. And I would prefer them not to give to us, but to give to the athletic programs themselves. A lot of we've had some softball stuff, some football stuff, some, all these different sports go to the same places. If they give to us, then maybe they don't have the money to give to the actual programs. And that, I would rather it go directly, in my personal opinion, I'd rather that go directly to the kids. That's kind of our job too. I don't like to spend money, period. You can talk to my wife. But this is one of those things, and it was put in those terms to me, is, it's getting dangerous in there to where, and that's where everything comes through. We just did, a press box at softball. We did one at soccer. We did one at baseball. That's how we pay for those things. So if we don't, mats and things like that, that's where it all comes from. So we have to take care of this building.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion that we, as a district, take this on, rebid it as needed, and with the understanding that the boosters are going to reimburse us down the road. somehow. I don't know if that's exact wording, Rick, but is that,
Well, I think that, we're, authorizing there in some kind of agreement
Yes.
yeah.
for the reimbursement or donation agreement. I think that's fine, because ultimately we still have to come back to you to actually award the contract at the end.
Right.
Once you rebid it, you're going to have to approve the contract.
All right.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Would that set you back too much, you think, or I guess?
I think it is, it's, for lack, it's gonna, how it's gonna be. I mean,
Yeah.
we ran it as an open bid just in case this happened, but if there's particular ways that we didn't, I mean, is there something that we didn't do that you know of that?
Yeah, it didn't advertise properly. We get advertised 2 weeks, per school districts have to. And newspaper in general, circulation in the school district.
Gotcha. So we had it on that website that's, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, that's stuff that I don't know the answer to. Yep.
Anything else?
Hey, look at it this way, but rebid might come in cheaper.
Maybe.
Let's think positive.
That's all right.
Well, they know what number they have to beat. right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I guess the people here do, right?
Yeah.
And they could probably look it
Well,
up.
I'm assuming that's out there, right? You can see that on your construction websites,
Yep.
correct?
Unless they didn't know about it, they may not know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an advertised
Yeah.
budget that it can be more than that.
All right.
All right, Mr. Jones?
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Muffin.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Item 3, request to speak on agenda items, Teamsters 413, Southwest Licking Education Association. Okay. Item 4, approval of minutes from the November 17th board meeting.
Motion approval?
Second?
Any comments? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Abstain?
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 5, financial report.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Jones?
Attaches the exact summary for November 2022. Fairly routine month. We did receive the homestead rollback settlement that we didn't receive in October, which brought our state resources to very close to where we're at. So overall, our revenue is 2% higher than we anticipate being, our expenses 2% lower, which is a good scenario to be in. So we're doing very well. I'll be glad to answer any specific questions you may have.
Was the athletic complex dollars, was that the new stuff?
Yeah, it's the base of the contingency money
Okay.
the board approved for
All
the
right.
projects.
Anything else? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 6, personnel consent calendar. We have A through L.
Motion to approve?
Sec-
Thank you all.
Second.
Is there anything to note?
There's nothing significant.
Okay.
I just want to say that I was approached by a bus driver, and they were very excited.
Yeah. That's awesome. Anything else? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 7, business items. We have A through G. Can we go?
Motion approve A through D.
I'll second that.
Any comments on A
I
through
have a comment about KKA, the recruiters in school.
Okay.
I read through this and I see the changing of the wording, but at the very end, it says, names and addresses must be released to recruiting officer of armed forces unless a parent or student, 18 or older, submits a written request not to release the information. And then it says, this is the new part that's being proposed to be added. The district notifies parents and students, age 18 or older, of their right to submit a written request not to release such information. I guess my question is, why is that necessary? If it says in the sentence prior that it needs, that they can request, it seems to me like if you read through the entire thing, if there really was equal access, it seems like we're talking about all the different trades, because it says armed forces, skilled trades, intuitions, career tech, business, industry, charitable institutions, and other employers, or prohibit the presentation of information or recruitment of students by those representatives for employment, training, or education on the district's campus. The board provides equal access to any of the district's employment or placement services to all entities described in this policy. So if we're providing equal access to everybody, why are we then at the very end excluding the military? No one else has to do anything special, but for military, we're supposed to send home a special letter. If this really was equal access, I don't understand why we're placing a qualifier on the armed forces only, because armed forces is one of the seals we can use for graduation. So to me personally, this kind of feels like a de facto restriction that is not uniformly imposed using the wording of the policy.
My only argument would be that they're automatically given to the military unless the parent has a written note.
Right, but then the last sentence says, the district notifies parents and students 18 and older of their right to submit a written request not to release such information.
Right.
So we're only doing that for the military. We aren't doing that for CTEC or college.
I see what you're saying.
It seems like we're just being exclusionary to the military.
So
It just
why wouldn't
seems-
we tell parents they can have a right to exclude information being handed out to any of those other entities? I see what you're saying.
I don't
to
think
me-
they can get it. I don't think you can submit that stuff to like for-profit companies. I have to go back and see what this says about the information about giving out student information, but I thought you don't do
But
it
I
for
see what he's
for-profit.
saying, though. It's
Oh, I see
saying
what he says.
But parents can have a right to not give military their kids' addresses, but they don't have the right to exclude their addresses from CTEC? What if I didn't want CTEC to have my kids' address?
Yeah, that'd be not, yeah.
Just seems exclusionary for the military, and I don't,
I mean, that's
that
not
doesn't
what
sit
I'm
well with
saying.
me.
No, I said, yeah.
So I guess we'll see where this goes. I would offer a friendly amendment that we strike the language, the district notifies parents and students age 18 or older of their right to submit a written request not to release such information. And if we strike it, their right is still stated in the sentence prior, but that right is included with all the other things as well. So I just don't like that sentence, and I can't get behind that.
Can I make a friendly amendment to the friendly? I would make a motion to table so we can talk to OSBA or contact our OSBA and the
Yeah.
attorney.
I would agree.
So we make sure we're not doing anything.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But this is also just the first reading. It can change.
Oh, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, this is not the adoption. This is only the first reading, and we could change it, take it out by next reading. So I'm not necessarily need, you could table it still if you want to, but you could still change it for a second
Yeah,
reading.
I mean, I also don't think it's pressing. I think if we did table it, I
think we table
I
Yeah.
don't think that by not, I mean, I guess it's fine either way, but I think if everyone's more comfortable with that to get additional information, I don't think it's something that has to go through tonight on first reading.
Motion-wise, because we have like 4 items.
Yeah.
still to-
Somebody
Legislative, I
can
probably
motion
should
to
have
pull
said
it
something
out.
before we.
Motion to pull it out as a separate vote.
Okay.
Motion to pull it out of the separate vote,
A.
yeah.
I'll second that.
You ready? Ms. Zengel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to table KKA.
I'll
Do
second.
we want to address the first motion that's already on the table?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. We got one
we?
on the table.
Yeah,
All the other
his-
ones are on the table.
Okay, okay. We already got that one out. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're
Oh,
voting?
so we're now voting on A through D minus KKA.
Correct.
Yes.
Sounds good. We're in
love
algebra
Robert's
tonight.
rules.
All right.
And then the asbestos abatement, just separate for the Kirksville Elementary, was bid out. Actually, we did receive 5 bids on it, so it was actually good. And this one came in about 20,000 lower than the actual actual estimates, which is really good, yeah. So,
All right. Anything else for A through D? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes.
Do a motion.
Now I'll motion to table.
Any further discussion? I assume we'll need to have a
Policy.
policy advisory group meeting. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Items 7E, F, and G, or 1.
I'll motion 7E to have Ms. Spindler as President Pro Tem.
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Any conversation?
You sure you want to do it?
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Abstain. 7F.
Right. So we have to have the organizational meeting prior to the 15th.
Order before 15.
Great time to have left my phone in the car.
That'll teach you.
The
Right.
15th is a Sunday, so it won't
Right.
be on.
No.
That's bad.
Is it?
The girls have a game. Like, it's not horrible.
Well, I never got to see you.
I know, but you did last year. I won't get to it next year. I could do the 11th. Are we trying to do the regular right after?
That's a motion. for-
Oh, that's the next one. Gotcha.
You don't have to, just try.
I can do whatever anybody wants. The 12th is like my least favorite day of that week. But I can do the 9th through the 11th.
The 10th is staff and student of the quarter. So the 10th
Oh, it
is,
is.
yes, so
Okay.
that's out.
Okay.
I will even do the 12th. That's what.
I'll motion that we do the organizational meeting and the regular meeting on January 11th,
Starting at 7 or 6:30?
starting at 6:30 for organizational in the board meeting room. Regular meeting to follow the organizational.
I'll second that.
Does that work for you, Roger?
Yeah, well,
You don't
I
know.
mean,
who knows?
we're
Ask-
voting at this
Ask
point.
Mr. Graham.
Right. Anything else? Any
Going
other-
into it blind, it has to work for me, so.
Okay, Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 8, treasurer's items. We have A and B.
Motion to approve 8A and B, 8A with thank you.
Second.
Any conversation? Okay. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 9, superintendent's items.
I don't really have anything tonight besides to say we've had a really great week of a lot of holiday performances and concerts. If you've been to the auditorium this week, Ross has done a fantastic job with that auditorium for the holidays, and so have all of our teachers that have performances. I appreciate Mr. Davis and Dr. Moore attending the band and choir tonight, as that's going on as we speak. And I just wish everyone, all of our families and staff, a great holiday. And that's all I have.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right. Item 10, request to speak on non-agenda items, Teamsters 413, Southwest Licking Education Association.
Speaking of holiday cheer, we're all dressed up in our spirit wear today. Again this month, do you want me to introduce myself?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Again this month, I want to share our frustration that the board continues to refuse to meet with SLE leadership. In considering this problem, I was reminded by a member the questions we asked all candidates for school board when SLE held a candidate night. Several of those questions involved the candidates' positions and commitment to working with the association. I'm getting older and my memory sometimes needs triggered. However, once it was, I remember those promises, and we actually had notes of comments that candidates made. And so I'm even more just confused about the position the board has taken about working with SLE. This month, the board also took away a form of communication that every teacher in the district has had to reach the board anonymously. That avenue of communication has been shut down, even though it has been available to all members for more than a decade. This seems to me as a step even further away from those promises. So I repeat my request that representatives from the board meet with SLE leadership to work together to address the issues facing the district for the betterment of our community and our students. I told you last month I'm very concerned about the teaching shortage, and I'm concerned this SWL will be proactive in addressing how to improve teaching working conditions for SWL teachers. This month we had some positive efforts in that direction. The state is requiring elementary teachers to have dyslexia training, and this has been a bone of contention in many districts, and our district leadership developed a plan that would allow our teachers to complete this training during the workday, and that was very much appreciated. And they also addressed our concerns. Our teachers, since we've gone back to community buildings, were very concerned about not having time to collaborate, to talk, actually just to catch up with people from other buildings. And Dr. Perkins did arrange that our waiver days include some time with a shared lunch, and that was very appreciated by everyone. And Tan even brought me popcorn personally because I missed the popcorn bar, but I hear that, see, he and I get along sometimes, right? Yeah.
It's the holidays.
It's the holidays. Good cheer. We'll get along this month. Next month, can't promise. Okay. We'll try. We will try. We always try. We always try. All right. So there was some positive. However, I would be remiss. I do think we really have to think about, I am a big believer that it's important that all opinions and views are valued and considered. And I think any employee has to be able to question their employer. All of you that work, if you could never ever complain or express a frustration or concern what was going on. You would be very frustrated if the answer was, then go somewhere else. And that didn't happen just once this last month for members of our school district. So that all being said, I just really want to express again that Southwest Licking is a great district, and all of us, the district office, the administration, the teachers, the other staff members here, and the school board, I believe would be best served by working together. I told you last month that I don't know the answer to the teacher shortage or how to improve conditions. We get lots of things from lots of where that no one in this room has control over. But we have started trying to answer that by talking to every single teacher on the staff. And I was gonna promise we were gonna have some preliminary results at the next board meeting, but now you've moved it 2 weeks, so it's winter break. I don't know that we can promise that, but we will be talking to every staff member. Because sometimes I'm told, oh, you're just talking to this group or that group, and it will be every staff member, and we will see what they have to say. And I would love if you would meet with us and talk about it, but otherwise, we'll talk about it here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing item number 11 is adjournment.
Motion adjournment?
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mr. Zion?
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler?
Yes, we are adjourned at 7:47 PM.